Welcome to the Love to Dev YouTube channel. This is Chris Love, and today I'm going to show you how to set breakpoints in your JavaScript using browser developer tools. We're going to look at both Internet Explorer and Chrome today, and we're going to use the movie demo application. And what I'm going to do is just a real simple exercise where I set a breakpoint in the movie detail controller, and we're just going to see some of the options that we have to step through, um, modify the breakpoint, and do some simple watches of the variables. That way you can get an idea of how you can walk through and debug your code to make your applications better. So what I'm going to do just to show you what we're going to debug is just I'm going to open up a movie detail here. It's American Sniper, and you can see it loaded really quick, and we'll go back. And then we're going to go over to the developer tools here for Internet Explorer. You can bring these up by pressing F12. You can also, another trick to do is if you're in the browser, you can right click on any element and say inspect element, and it'll launch this and actually take you to the DOM Explorer, but it's also a quick way to get there if you're just too lazy to hit F12. But we are on the debugger tab here, and this gives us insight into our JavaScript. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my mouse cursor over here to this gray bar on the left. This is usually how I personally set breakpoints. You can also press F9 to toggle a breakpoint on a line. The problem is Camtasia is intercepting that keystroke right now, and I can't do that in the video. So you can toggle a breakpoint here. And this onload function, if you're not familiar with my SPA library, gets executed when the controller is invoked on a route change. And it's going to, in this case, it's going to pass in params. And these are going to be any parameters that were passed on the route. We'll look at defining a route and how this works in a video at a future date. So just stay tuned to the channel and it'll eventually show up for us. And I want to point out some other things here. We've got a watch window over here on the right, and we can add watches here manually. So I could say params, and we can see it right now we're not available. I could also do it this way. I could do this, and then I could do right click, and oh, actually can't. What I can do is I can hit Control W. Let's try this again. There we go. Control W, and you can see it was added over there. So that's a little keystroke that we can do. Down here we have a list of breakpoints that are currently in the application. This one is one that's not valid. I can just delete it. Here's a breakpoint that we just set. I can edit it. We can add a condition. We'll look at that here in a minute. And then we have some, we can put an event trace point. We can also, if it'll pop up, add an event breakpoint. We can disable all of them at once. We can also delete all breakpoints. So when you get a big mess of breakpoints, and inevitably you're going to run into that situation at some point in your life, you might just want to delete them all. But we can disable and enable it by checking it on and off, and you can see it change from a full red circle to just the outline of a circle as you toggle that. Basically, that means the breakpoint's there, but it's not going to hit the breakpoint if you're stepping through. Again, as you develop a pattern for debugging your application, you're going to set breakpoints and you're going to figure out things are okay, but you don't want to remove it. But you may or may not want it to actually hit that breakpoint. That's what you want to do. Now we saw the conditions. You can also do that from here. So we could say condition, and we could say params equal true, and actually you need to do that. So it's just like if you were writing it in JavaScript, you would do the same kind of conditional expression here as well. I'm not going to set this right now because I actually want to step through so you can see how this works. So again, we're going to let's just hit the Paddington Bear one this time. So we got a different movie, and we stopped on our breakpoint here. Now I can just roll my cursor over the parameter definition, and we can see that it's an object. And we can also expand that object out, which is really nice. And you can see that there's two properties. We have an ID and we have a title that were passed in. And it's important that we have this ID because this is what we're going to use to actually retrieve the data that composes the movie. So the way Rotten Tomatoes API works, which if you're familiar with this demo application at this point, they require the ID as the key when you make a call to get a movie detail. And so the data layer in the application here is going to use that to make the AJAX call. And we'll step through and see how that's leveraged. Um, Now let's go over here to the watch window and see what else we have. We have locals. These are variables that are there, not necessarily that we've set a watch for, um, but these are just variables that we have access to because they're in the scopes. So the local means within this function, and then if we minimize that, toggle, come on, there we go. Here's the params object that we did set. Let's see if we got the, oh, here we go. Here's globals. We can drop that down. You can see that this is a lot of stuff. This is at the window level. So all those variables are available to us, and then scope would be within the anonymous function. I wrap all my controllers and any modules that I do inside of a self-executing immediate executing function right here, and so that's what it's showing us. We're seeing some of these other variables that are within the scope. Okay, what I would normally do at this point is press F10 to continue stepping through um, our code. The problem again is Camtasia maps that keystroke, so I can't do that. But we're not out of luck here. We could force it to continue, which obviously is F5 if you're familiar with Visual Studio parlance. They have also mapped F8 because that is what the continue function is mapped to in Chrome, and they decided that was probably a good idea to go ahead and just map that to make it a little easier for Chrome developers to work in Visual Studio. We can step into a function. We're not at a function right now to step into, but hit F11. Again, just like Visual Studio debugging. To step over is F10. That means we'll just do that right now. And you can see we'll move down to the next line. And if you want to step out of this function altogether, we would hit Shift F11. And we don't have a worker right now, but that's another feature, a little more advanced. These are exceptions. These are some other things you can do with the code, like prettify it and things like that. But we're going to focus on debugging here. So since I don't have function keys, I'm going to be a little awkward here. So we're just going to keep stepping over. And so let's, oh, crap. I wanted to show you that this was undefined. We'll look at this one. This is undefined. And then I'm just going to step over, and you can see that now it is set equal to a variable that we have, which in this case is the data provider. And then these are internal properties of our controller that we're just going to go ahead and set, and we'll do that. Now here's where we can step into a function. We're going to pass the ID here. It's got the callback, simple callback that we're going to have executed, and we'll just step into that, and that takes us down to the first function that's getting called. And here we are in that movie details function at this point. And you can see that the watch window is kind of constantly updating. We could also, if we wanted to, edit the value here. And so that will actually give us a false call right there by changing that value. And because this is a callback, I'm going to set another breakpoint here. We're just going to say go ahead and run. And we got an error because I think that changing that broke it. No, actually, yeah, we did. It caused a problem. So we'll go back through and just kind of do a clean run on this one. And we'll go call Paddington again. We're just going to hit that. And this time we were successful. And if we go back over here, you can see Paddington and all his details are up there. So that actually was kind of an interesting exercise. By changing the variable there was kind of a way to test it out. I need to have a little better validation going on in my data layer there, so that we don't have that error scenario that's not handled. So that was actually a good exercise. So that's a real simple way to go through and test this using setting breakpoints in Internet Explorer. Now we can do the same thing in Chrome. So this is the same application in Chrome. We didn't do anything different. And what we're going to do is set up another breakpoint right where we just did on the onload function. And it's a very similar process. I usually hit over here where the line numbers are displayed. Over here on the left, we've got the actual source tree. This is one thing I do like about Chrome that's not an IE at this point, is a structured view of the files. It makes it a whole lot easier to um, kind of see where they are, because I like to break out my JavaScript files quite a bit. Over here, just like in Internet Explorer, we have watch expressions. I didn't get into the call stack and things like that, um, but here are the breakpoints that we've got set right now. We've only got the one set. Um, and what we're going to do is, let's just do a different movie this time. Again, you can see that we have an ID, we have a params object, and it just automatically shows us the entire object here. We don't have a watch expression set up yet, but we can add to watch. And you can see that that object is over here now, and we could constantly see it. And just like in Internet Explorer, we have scoped variables, and we kind of looked at those. These are the globals and the closure variables that we have. So you get the ability to see where all the data is and what the values are for your variables that are accessible at that particular point. And that way you can make decisions on what's right, not what's not right, and go back and modify your code. And just like Internet Explorer, we have the buttons up here. Again, they're mapped to function keys, but again, Camtasia's overriding my function keys. So we're just going to hit that, and oh, we're still debugging here. We're on something. Oh, there we go. Because I'm not hitting the F8 key. I'm not used to hitting that button up there. And there we go. And here's our movie data. So that is kind of a quick, easy run through of how to set breakpoints in Internet Explorer and Chrome's developer tools. I hope this will help you be a better developer going forward. Find the flaws in your JavaScript like I showed you in this application, and then come back and make quick changes without having to do awkward console.logs or alerts and things like that that a lot of developers have done in the past. Um, every browser's got these rich script debugging capabilities now, and that's going to make it a lot easier for developers to work in the JavaScript world and create these rich client interfaces that our stakeholders and customers are desiring right now. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching this video. Please share it with your friends and followers. Also remember to subscribe to the Love to Dev channel for future video updates.